Everybody in the world gets paid a different way. Some get paid in money, some get paid in acclaim or power, and still others are paid in patriotism. This was something I realized very clearly in 2017 when I was living in Iraqi Kurdistan. See, the referendum on independence had just happened, and it was failing rapidly. Despite the fact that around 93% of the population of Iraqi Kurdistan had voted to free themselves from federal Iraq, the government in Baghdad did not like that. And so, in response, they sent tanks to the border of Iraqi Kurdistan. Specifically, they wanted to take over an area called Kirkuk. This is a really interesting area because not only is it incredibly oil rich, but it has had major cultural shifts, sometimes by the end of a gun, over the years. Saddam Hussein recognized the value of the area, but his concern was that it was largely populated with Kurds, and he wanted to change that. So he enacted a policy of what he called Arabization. Arabization essentially meant that the Iraqi army forced Kurds out of their homes and into basically anywhere else they would go, and they were replaced with Arab families. And presumably, these Arab families would be much more loyal to Saddam and therefore protect the oil fields. However, during the global war on terror, the United States attempted to facilitate the sort of undoing of this, and Kurdish families began returning to the area of Kirkuk. And Kirkuk started to fall under some of the administration of the Kurdistan Regional Government, or Iraqi Kurdistan as it's known. All of this is to say that when the referendum on independence happened, Baghdad was willing to fight for the area of Kirkuk, even if it meant killing Kurds. I was going to meet some journalists for drink the night after the fighting had died down. Kurdish forces were eventually overwhelmed, and Kirkuk became the property of Baghdad again. Anyway, I was talking to my cab driver, and I asked him what he had been up to the weekend before, just making small talk, and he said, "Oh, I was fighting. I was fighting in Kirkuk." And I was a bit baffled because my cab driver was also a soldier, and asked him if he was Peshmerga or the Death Facers. These are Kurdish military. And he responded in typical Kurdish fashion by saying, "We are all Peshmerga. We are all soldiers somehow." But I was confused, and I asked him, if you're a soldier, then why are you driving a cab as well? And he said, "Look, I need to make money. I need to take care of my family, and I also need to take care of my country. So one thing pays me in money, and the other thing pays me in patriotism." Belief in our own nations can leverage us into doing some amazing things and some horrible things. When it seems like somebody's behaving irrationally because of love of country, remember everybody gets paid. Some in money, some in patriotism. But you have to ask who gets the better end of the deal.